Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for visiting. The question that I'm considering today is, do I need to be reparented? And before I get into it, there is a previous video that I've done on healing your inner child, which you might find useful or helpful, and you might find it helpful to watch that one first. But so do I need reparenting? Well, if you Googled that, you would get various opinions, and many would say, oh, well, reparenting, that's just some therapists say that, and you don't really need it, it's not necessary. And so I would say, from a personal point of view, of having taken myself as a younger woman through a process of reparenting, and I mean, it's not heavy duty. It's something. It's a practice for life, really, but it's not onerous. Um, I would say, from a personal point of view, it was really helpful, and from a professional point of view, any of my clients who have engaged in that process and have it has made a difference. So I think the people who say, oh, it's not necessary and you don't need to do it and what have you, I think they're people who clearly haven't done it, because if they had done it, they would have got the benefit of it and probably then would recommend it. So that's my view on that. So personally, I think everybody can benefit from it's a form of self-inquiry and reflecting on which of your needs as a child were not met. And that's not about looking to see how you can blame your parents. It's a self-inquiry, which you don't know the answers to off the top of your head if you don't actually put the spotlight on it. And so I think a useful way of knowing whether it should useful for you, it's a purely voluntary thing. I mean, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to, for sure. So, but if you ever feel anxious, if you ever feel lonely, if you ever find yourself feeling a bit depressed, if you ever find yourself feeling unsafe, that is when our inner child, or our younger self, has been activated and is feeling a bit insecure. So just recognizing that is helpful and useful. And if that is a regular occurrence for you, feeling that way, so lonely or anxious or in low mood or depressed or unsafe, a bit frightened, a bit stuck, uh, and that's a bit ongoing for you, then probably you do need to be reparented. It's your early experience getting triggered, and often. So one of the things you have to learn and start to notice is that if these feelings have particular triggers, and now you may not be aware of the triggers, you just know that you don't feel good and you may not know why. So one of the benefits of reparenting, and is get yourself a journal. Those of you who are used to watching my videos know I'm a bit of a journal junkie, so this is my latest journal. um, don't you just love it? I think it's beautiful. And I've got a beautiful pen as well to do my journaling work. And so you can start to reparent yourself. It's not rocket science. It's really paying time and attention to yourself, blocking out time in your diary as you would for if you had to meet a friend or meet a sister. You get your diary and you make time and you arrange to spend time with the people in your life who are important. So you arrange to spend time with yourself. And so you take your journal and you take yourself to somewhere nice and you take the time to reflect on what are the triggers in your life. Now, there's a separate video on triggers. What's the triggers in your life? What are your boundaries like? Does it feel sometimes like people are walking all over you, or people are inconsiderate or disrespectful? Any of those kind of things need to be considered. The end result of doing this over time is that you finish up understanding yourself, accepting yourself more, maybe forgiving yourself for what feel like mistakes, if your marriage broke down, or you didn't, you had missed opportunities in your life, then you might regret that and blame yourself. So, and it's not good to blame yourself. It's not good to blame other people either. So you have to forgive yourself for things, regrets. No sense holding regrets. You have to let them go. So more about those in other videos. So that's kind of roughly reparenting is about reflecting back and giving yourself time, giving yourself attention, spending time with yourself, not thinking of it as, oh, well, I'm on my own, but rather I am with myself and I'm listening to myself. And I'm paying attention to myself and looking at what was it like for me? What is it that gets triggered that makes me feel lonely and lost and anxious and depressed, maybe abandoned, rejected, and unsafe? All of those feelings. And often they're the kind of feelings that come up for people whose marriages or relationships have broken down. So that's the basics of it. So just going, unpacking that a bit more. We all come into the world fundamentally, as long as, there's no highly adverse conditions around our birth and infancy. Generally, children are fairly carefree, curious, creative. They're happy little souls. They want to get into everything and examine everything and taste everything. And they're usually quite happy. They're very present. You don't get a little child who's there but thinking about what they're going to do tomorrow or thinking about what happened yesterday. They're usually very in the moment, timeless and boundless. They're and full of wonder. And that is our natural state, to be full of wonder and curiosity and creativity. So that is kind of that our happy state that we need to be able to get back to. So it's moving just kind of sideways a bit now. When we think of a parent, an ideal parent, so looking at reparenting, what kind of a parent would you be to yourself? So one of the things that you would start to notice and record in your journal would be your inner dialogue. How do you talk to yourself? How do you talk to your inner child who feels anxious and maybe a bit lonely and frightened or unsure? You know, it's not helpful to say, "Oh, don't be so silly," or "Oh, I'm just being silly," and consider yourself, critically, because you're feeling those feelings. And it may be that when you were young, um, the child that you were, and many of us had parents who were busy surviving, or too busy working because they had to, and we didn't get the time and attention that we needed. And if there was a lot of siblings, if you were a large family, you might have got lost in the shuffle. So giving yourself time and attention, and a nice journal and a nice pen is kind of, starting to meet some of the needs that weren't met when you were little. And so the time and attention, but also listening to yourself. It may be that with so much going on when you were little, it was kind of, oh, be quiet, don't be so silly. And so those kind of tiny, small little criticisms and judgments, we tend to kind of keep that tape running and keep saying it to ourselves instead of sitting down and listening to yourself. The other thing about reparenting is it's giving yourself a voice and allowing yourself to express what's going on with you without judgment and without criticism. And that's why writing in your journal, you can just write it how it is. It's not Dear Diary. It's not writing for somebody. It's not for anyone else's eyes. It's for you to connect with yourself and get to know yourself. And actually, it's quite interesting. As you write and as you get into it, new things pop up from your unconscious, things that you were long forgotten. So if you weren't doing that writing, there are things that you just wouldn't remember, you wouldn't think about them. But because you're kind of opening your mind to how life was when you were little and you're writing, things just bubble up. And suddenly you can see how it was, like I tell the story of when I was 6. I just so wanted my painting to go on the wall. My teacher, Miss Malone, we would do watercolor painting once a week, and she always picked 3 paintings to go on the wall, 3 of the best. So she picked them and put them on the wall. And I would desperately want her to take mine and put it on the wall, but she never ever did, and she didn't know. No, she never said anything nasty to me, but I just finished up believing that whatever I create isn't really good enough for people to see. So I formed a belief that I wasn't very creative. Which of course it's not true. I am actually very creative, but this is one of the things that we do. It's not even that anybody has treated us badly, it's beliefs that we form about ourselves. So it's quite useful going through this process to see the beliefs that we hold about ourselves that make us shrink and dumb ourselves down, and it's not true. We hold a lot of negative beliefs that are very limiting, and they're just not true. So the reparenting process helps us to revisit those scenarios and situations, whether it's with our parents, with our friends, family members, teachers, and all of life, and revisit, not to find fault or blame with somebody, but to just reconstruct it, deconstruct it, and reconstruct it. And like I did, reminded myself, actually, do you know what, Grace? You're actually very creative. The 6-year-old that you were made that jump to that conclusion and formed that belief. And I now don't believe that. I believe I'm actually very creative. But for the most of my life, I allowed that belief to I, for example, wouldn't make videos and put them out. I would think, well, who wants to see that? Nobody's that interested in what you've got to say, Grace. And, spent most of my life telling myself that. So I've changed that. And I know for a fact, a lot of people don't want to see it, but a lot of people do. And they find that these videos helpful. So I'm inviting you to go into a process of self-inquiry. But with that, You become the parent to yourself. It's not a therapist or somebody else becoming your parent. It's you reparenting you. So the ideal parent, if we had one, and I don't believe many people have them, that is strong, is mature, can make good decisions, is courageous, is encouraging. They meet your needs. They keep appointments. If they say they're going to see you, they're reliable. They can manage money, and they take good care of us, and they protect us, and they're all of that. Now that is how you need to be in relation to yourself. You don't criticize yourself. You don't put yourself down. You don't, if you find yourself holding a belief that's along the lines of you're not good enough, you look and see, well, where did that come from? And is it true? Is it true? Is it really true? And mostly the answer is no, it's not. You see, the thing is, when you're reparenting yourself, you are becoming the best kind of parent to yourself, because the parents that most of us actually had, if we had them at all, were just ordinary people like us, who also hadn't perhaps been well parented either. So they didn't know how to do good parenting. A lot of them did good caretaking, but that's not the same as parenting. So the archetypal parent is a caregiver and a warrior. So the caregiving is tender, compassionate, caring, nurturing, encouraging, all of those that's kind of parent. It's not caregiving. Caregiving is making sure that, and you do need to do caregiving with yourself, that, you're not wearing pajamas with holes in them, pajamas that you've been wearing for the last 10 years. No, buy yourself some, really fantastic new pajamas. Get yourself what you want. Don't sort of tell yourself, oh no, we can't afford it. I know they're good enough. Take good care of yourself, but not just take good care of yourself in terms of, getting good sleep, not overworking, giving yourself good food, making sure you get good sleep and rest, and that you have leisure time. That's good care, taking care of you. As a really good parent would make sure that their child got enough sleep and got good nourishing food that nourish their body, would speak tenderly to them, would be encouraging and helping them to flesh out their hopes and their dreams, and would listen to their fears as well. That is parenting. And so you go through a process of doing that with yourself, and it's kind of like growing yourself up, because most of us finish up as adults who are children inside. So we're adult children. So when you go through this process of reparenting, you actually grow yourself up, and your self-esteem grows, your sense of self-worth grows. And the fact that you spend dedicated time doing this work and writing it out and reflecting and acting on it and treating yourself as someone who is very precious and significant. All of that helps you to really accept yourself. And when you get like that with yourself, your actual energetic frequency changes, and you actually feel different to be around. And the people that you attract into your life it's very attractive when you do all that work and you kind of start to feel, you know what, I'm an okay person. I really like myself and I love myself. You cease to be lonely and lost and anxious and depressed. Now, the other part of the archetypal parent is the warrior. Now, the warrior is to protect you. The warrior is a protector. So the archetypal warrior energy that we tap into is that you make a commitment to yourself. I will not treat you badly, you tell yourself, nor will I allow anyone else to treat you badly ever again. I will never bring anyone into your life who will treat you badly. And I will have zero tolerance on any kind of disrespectful behavior. And, you know, as you would for your own children, you would not allow people to be disrespectful and abusive to your children. So you don't allow anybody to do that to you. And you get that warrior energy that says, no, no, it's not happening. So you put boundaries in place, and there's a separate video about boundaries. You put boundaries in place so people who come into your life, they know to treat you kindly and carefully and with respect. So that also feeds into your frequency. So treating yourself with compassion, encouragement, kindness, generosity, take yourself out where you would like to go, give yourself a treat. This doesn't all have to cost a lot of money. During the years when I was reparenting myself, I was a single parent with children, and I didn't have much money. But I used to go to charity shops, I think in America, I can't remember the name for them in America, but you know, a Goodwill shop, something like that. But I would find really expensive clothes that had been expensive and buy them for very little, and you know they would look nice on me, and I would treat myself because I couldn't afford to buy the expensive ones, but I still got nice good clothes for myself because I was taking care of myself. So that's where I'm going to leave this for now. I'm going to do a part 2 where I'm going to go into a bit more detail about the empowerment, self-empowerment, trusting yourself and building up trust in your own judgment. Um, and you know, this stuff improves all of your relationships, whether it's intimate relationships or in the workplace or in your community, and how we can really build up a sense of self-worth and self-respect. So I'm going to leave it there for now. If you have found this video helpful or useful, please click subscribe and you'll be notified when the next videos are published. So bye for now, and I hope that was really useful. And don't forget, really get the journal, get yourself a lovely journal, and make regular time to sit down with you to do this work. I promise you it will make a huge difference. Bye for now.